My name is Richard Wingate. I'm the head of anatomy at King's College London, and I am a principal investigator in the MRC Centre for Neurodevelopmental Disorders. I'm a neuroscientist who looks at the developing brain, and in that context I'm interested in how we move, how we hear. So I work on structures such as the cerebellum, the auditory brainstem. The auditory brainstem is the part of the brain which contains the neurons which receive signals from the ear and also from your organs of balance. And so those inputs are then fed through to the cortex, which is the part of your brain up here, which processes all our sensory information, and is also used by a part of the brain back here, the cerebellum, to process unconscious responses to the environment. So it's an important router for all that sensory information through to various parts of the brain. And in that role, absolutely central to the way that we think, sense and feel. My interest in the development of the brainstem and the cerebellum stems essentially from a passion in understanding how circuits and networks develop and evolve. The circuits of the brainstem and the cerebellum are produced by migrating populations of neurons which are following elaborate cues that we don't quite understand. And in doing these movements through the brain, in sending out projections of contacts, they're forming the circuits which underlie the way we think, and understanding the instructions which these cells are responding to is going to tell us an enormous amount about how not only these circuits develop, but how the whole brain develops in both humans and in animals. One of the nice things about development is it gives us an opportunity to see where the brain comes from in the early embryo and how that process of development is modified in different species to give different outcomes. So evolution informs development, development informs evolution, and both of those go together to inform function in humans and also give us a perspective on disease. The first memory I have of being interested in science goes way back to the schoolyard, to the primary school playground in the UK, where I collected bits of fluff and dust off the ground and made microscope slides out of sellotape, and I persuaded my classmates to do the same. Absolutely useless, they couldn't be used in any way at all, but I had this collection of little pieces of detritus from the playground, which I made into slides as a scientist, a junior scientist, and that's the first memory I have of being engaged in science. My interest in neuroscience, like most of my colleagues and the general public, stems from the fact that we all have a brain. We all use a brain constantly. We all have a theory of mind and how our brain is working. We are inherently interested in how our brains work, what they do for us. And if you have the privilege of being a scientist, as I do, then you're also interested in the very nuts and bolts of how your brain is developing, how it's used to see, sense, feel, and think.